Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer and this is DGI-395. We have some breaking information and this is something that perhaps is being talked about for the first time. And to know about that and other things, let's welcome our co-host 𝙒𝙧𝙤𝙪 Chityalaji. 𝙒𝙧ji, Namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskar and good morning to folks in the United States and good afternoon, good evening to those in India and other parts of the world.
𝙒𝙧ji, first off, market information in the United States. Can you give us a quick update, sir? Because the market is again on the uptrend. And what is the reason for the optimism?
Well, I think that the markets yesterday finished 500 points up. The Dow was up about 500 points, raking in about 1.8% gains. S&P was up about 1.4%, and I think the Nasdaq was up around 1.2%. Basically, there are what are the drivers? The drivers are, I think, three things. One is they see some early signs of inflation waning down. That certainly flowed into the sentiments. There's also a growing feeling that the Fed will taper, but not reduce the target rate. So therefore, there is some element of positive buoyancy around that. That's the second part of the curve. The third part is the earning numbers and some of the trade deals continue to happen in the market. Notably, United Airlines announced a major transaction which has not been seen of its kind. They have ordered 300 aircrafts, 200 to be delivered next year with an option to buy 100 more. That's roughly 2 aircrafts per week on the 2 to 4 aircraft per week commencing next year. They clearly see a demand. They have been planning for this. So all this implies that there is obviously some growing sentiments, positive sentiments, which they see in the market. That is what is feeding into the markets, Sriji.
Thank you very much, sir. In fact, I flew Boeing 787 from Chicago to Delhi, and the plane was very nice, sir. It's I have seen some other 777s of Boeing. 787 is something else. I mean, it's beautifully done and very nice aircraft. Very nice, very smooth ride. And I mean, I can't say enough good things about it. Let's move on to the next topic, sir. Very important. China again rattling sabers. The saber sounds are louder. This time they flew 17 nuclear-enabled aircraft over Taiwan, and they've also been doing some mischief in Tawang area in India. We'll come to that in a little bit. 𝙒𝙧ji, is this saber rattling to try and cover up for some of its problems vis-a-vis COVID, sir?
Well, I think that there are two reasons. One is very clear that Joseph Wong, the foreign minister for Taiwan, has made it very explicit in his interview in The Guardian, which is to say what is going on is scouting and basically preparing the ground and identifying the points of vulnerability, at least in the pretext of preparing themselves and communicating to the domestic population and the Chinese audiences that China means business. Xi Jinping just did not make a rhetorical statement in the last Communist Congress. So I think that's what you're beginning to see in Taiwan, and they don't seem to have stopped their intentions. They also see clearly a weakness in the West, with West attention focused on Russia, Ukraine.
Yes, indeed. And as far as Tawang is concerned, 𝙒𝙧ji, you know, and I know we've been following this very closely. 300 Chinese soldiers tried to grab area. They walked into India, and India was ready for them. There was a scuffle. There was injury. There were injuries on both sides. 4 injured on the Indian side, 10 on the Chinese side. But there is something more that China has lost. We're going to reveal that in our 8 o'clock show with Sri Rajagopalanji. So stay tuned and do come back for that. It's a big reveal, and it makes India's position much more stronger. That's what we think. 𝙒𝙧ji, your views on what has been playing out in Tawang, sir?
I think the Chinese have been attempting to showcase to the world that they are following the rules of engagement in LAC, which is not armed but using this crude weaponry and continuing to test the veracity and the intent of the Indians. And basically, this what I'm here. I'm not a defense expert, this Tawang area is supposed to be, from a height point of view, it's a strategic advantage position in terms of having a complete oversight across the various areas on either side. So right now, the way it stands is the Indians are holding the Indian side and the Chinese are holding on the Chinese side. And the specific outpost that was attacked, which had about 50 or 60 soldiers, they felt that this is a vulnerable point and see whether they can stake a claim. But I think the deployments arrived very fast, and it seems like the Indians were able to repel the situation. But I think the most important headline to me is that again, India has demonstrated to the world that it can tackle the Chinese. It has received very, very little attention in global media, notwithstanding the fact they've been talking about Taiwan, but how India is facing up to a boisterous and a villainous China across its borders.
Well, viewers, wait till our news hits at 8 p.m. IST, and you will see the whole world waking up to something more significant that has happened. Anyway, so let's take a look at what is happening in Japan. Japan is also going through furious preparations for self-defense of its country. So we still believe that the Senkaku slash Kuril Islands is a possibility, and we don't know when that is going to happen. But more overall, Sridharji, what is Russia's position now? Do you think they'll still do this thing, jump in with China on those two island sequences, sir?
Well, right now there is a in-person meeting that is scheduled end of December between Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping. Remember that he did not attend the G20 summit, which Biden
Yes.
and Xi Jinping attended. So there is an in-person meeting that has not taken place between Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping. It'll be interesting to see what transpires in that meeting. Certainly, this is one of probably the agenda items. Now, this is where India could play an influential role because Japan is a strategic partner of India. One cannot say China is a strategic partner of India. Clearly, Japan is by virtue of investments, by being a key member of the Quad, and so on, and also the Indo-Pacific Economic Forum, etc. So, whether India will use its influence to mitigate Russia is the big question mark, and whether Russia can be distracted, given the extension of the Ukraine war that is taking place, is the biggest question, Sriji. But clearly, they have a joint coordination to tackle this issue. But it remains to be seen whether the global forces will hold its way.
Sir, the next item that we want to talk about is the pending visit of the United States Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, to China in the beginning of next year. What do you think that visit would solve?
Well, I think it is basically re-establishing the protocols. There was a stalemate. Biden and Xi Jinping has met. Now the foreign ministers have met. So, it's a diplomatic visit. And there are a number of items on the agenda, which is effectively one is the Taiwan. I think the second is the trade tariffs, which which President Trump had imposed. The Chinese are trying to negotiate. There's also issues around the delisting and the penalties that they have imposed on some of the tech companies. We will also cover how TikTok is being progressively banned by many states across United States, especially on state mandated devices such as local mobile phones. So a number of these items, and most important of all that is the trade and the security. These are the two things I think that will feature on their agenda, Sriji.
Sir, I have done an exclusive monologue on the reluctance of Google and Apple to take TikTok off of their Play Stores, on Play Store and App Store. Why are these two companies dragging their feet? I mean, the FCC chairman has written to them the reason why they want these things banned. There's a data leak.
Well, Apple has enough challenges on its own in China. And whether it has a long-standing supply chain integration, which Tim Cook, the present chairman CEO, as the COO under Steve Jobs put together, which formed the basis of iPhone manufacturing and profit margins that they have extracted from the iPhones. So it's not a very trivial matter for Apple to heat and take it out, and iPhones are consumed as well in China. So it's a political plus. There's also an economic consequence decision. So I think that's what is weighing in Apple's favor. As far as the Google is concerned, it is on, hard, on, off. It still is suffering from a number of issues. TikTok is an important platform in terms of number of users, so which helps Google on advertising revenue, etc. So again, commercial interests, predates or presupposes the security issues. This is the reason why these two people are reluctant right now. Whether they will change their mind, time will tell.
People believe that India, Vietnam, Japan, and Taiwan would make a very reliable combination where each can help out the other. Where is this thought process forming, sir? And how do you see the strengths and weaknesses of these four countries?
Well, first and foremost, I think India and Japan have a strategic agreement by virtue of the quadrilateral treaty. They have conducted a number of exercises, most recently the Garuda exercise, plus as well as the Japan and United States and the Indian naval forces under the direction of the Japanese Navy conducted both in Indian Ocean as well as in the Pacific. So there's a much stronger coordination and alignment and thought process between Japan and India on one front. And China is the common point of threat as far as these two nations are concerned. That is one of the reasons why Japan has unified its various forces under one structure, and they have also increased the defense budget. Remember, Vietnam has a strategic partnership with India. Some of the BrahMos missiles are again, located in Vietnam by virtue of the treaty that India and Vietnam has. And clearly, Vietnam sees challenges around, Chinese footprint in that region. It has also been one of the beneficiaries, very similar to India, on a number of industries migrating out of China. So those three countries, it kind of harmoniously presents itself. Taiwan, well, India had a deal with Korea, and India is offering its platform. In India is offering, when I say platform, the PLI programs and capacity for the TSMC to come and build a factory. And, even Indian defense minister visited Taiwan. So the story is that they all have a common enemy in China, and they have a loose set of partnerships already in place. They have a strategic interest in mitigating Chinese footprint in the respective countries, unlike United States under the present regime. Under the present regime, there has not been much progress other than a lot of talk. And you saw in one of the trade deals that was approved was under Biden. They lifted some of the bans on Chinese companies offering machinery to, I think if I'm correct, one of the nuclear plants or nuclear ecosystems, nuclear power plant ecosystems, much to the raising the eyebrows of the people. So I don't know whether there is a clear strategic interest and alignment, notwithstanding the utterances from the US government. We'll see that what General Petraeus has stated when we come to the later half of the program, Shriji.
Stay with us, viewers. And the next big item that I want to talk about, and I'm trying to connect the dots here and I'm failing, and I'm sure Sridharji can connect the dots. The G7 has made a price cap on oil, right? Now comes news that Russia is going to help India lease and build large capacity ships. How are these two related, Sridharji?
Well, I think we covered this in DGI, and I posted a statement from Janet Yellen. Janet Yellen has stated that, India doesn't need to comply. India can continue to source oil supplies from Russia as long as it is not using international banking, insurance, and other kind of contracts, which will bring it into purview of the G7 laws. So what Russia is saying is, don't worry, okay, I will build this big ship, and put oil into it, and I will provide you the insurance cover. You don't need to worry about it. I'll make sure that the oil reaches your shores. You take care of it and refine it. So this is the subtlety of how you can beat a system. If you're not using a SWIFT payment system, if you're not using international insurance agencies, you're not violating any norms. It's a bilateral. As far as India is concerned, India is not sending its what you call the carriers into the merchant vessels into Russian shores. So Russia is coming. Russia will find its way, come into the shores. India allows it. They dump the oil. There's no insurance, and there is a payment that takes place between ruble payment and rupee payment between the two central banks. It's a G2G agreement. So no international violations. This is what Janet Yellen is trying to imply. So who is the guy who has caught on to this? Vladimir Putin has caught on to this, and he's telling the Indians, do not worry, we'll give you the oil. This is the reason why I said to you, if there is a country which can barter with Russia in terms of helping Japan, it's India more than any other nation.
Get out of that, price controls and all the insurance and other things. And but building a ship from zero is going to take a few months, isn't it, Sridharji?
This is a long standing. This is going to be 10, 20 years. This is not a 1-year deal that they're looking at. So they probably are going to make India build very similar to the President Trump deal. What did President Trump do? He said he would deliver the energy to India, on par with international prices, waiving all the transportation costs, where the US naval ships will carry the oil and provide to Indian shores at zero extra cost and at the same prices. You refine and you export on my behalf. And US became a net exporter during that particular period. What did Biden administration do? Cut its arms, hands, and feet, and basically started to dwindle to the extent that it cannot meet its own supply. So who is going to meet that gap? Russia is saying, I'll meet the gap. It's exactly the same strategy that they deployed in Europe.
I think India can also meet that gap. There is nothing wrong. India's newly found enthusiasm for refining crude and shipping it back in record time. They've started buying some, getting some buyers from US to buy it. So we'll wait and see how this thing plays out. Very interesting geopolitics at play. So the next thing is about India's inflation. It is down below 6%, 5.88 to be exact, in November. And this is the first time it has happened in 11 months. So how much of this is because of oil? Because is it course? This is not course, what do you call that? Core CPI, right? Core inflation. Core inflation. Yeah.
So it is basically, I think that to answer your question, I think we have addressed this in several ways. One is several times through DGI. India has tried to address this as a supply chain issue rather than as a fiscal issue. Even today, pundits in United States, who are objective, talk about this monetary tool is going to fail. They have to come back to the fiscal, which is addressing the supply chain issues. We didn't cover the market insights, market overview, which we will do over the weekend. When we go through, we can see commodity prices since the year beginning to today, year to date. All the commodity prices have tremendously reduced, ranging from 30% to 50%, from wheat to coffee to soybeans to cocoa to sugar to rice, etc. But if the prices has reduced and if the energy prices has come down, how come you still have issue? The issue is it is not able to come onshore, and onshore it is not able to reach the consumers. So we still have food inflation in United States because our supply chain is completely broken. So therefore, India has addressed the supply chain issues, particularly around the food side, on the food industry. The second that they have done is they have augmented and sourced oil at a discounted price. So you are beginning to see that they have looked at Unfortunately, the harvest season has also helped India, which is one of the reasons why they exported, 7 million tons of wheat when they were normally doing 1 million tons. They've augmented their food processing capabilities, etc. So both on the food side as well as on the energy side, they have a policy that is helping the inflation not reach mainstream, which is the reason why you are seeing a downward trend in the inflation numbers, Sriji.
And last year, just for our data experts, it was 4.91% last November. So it's within 1 percentage point. And given the fact that there has been tumultuous pricing in the crude, I think that's something that I think everybody would accept. So excellent job there. Let's take a look at what is happening post the Sinema exiting the cinema of Democrats and becoming an independent. Now, we've already predicted, we had said that Joe Manchin could be next. What he's saying is something different, and let's hear it from the expert. What is Joe saying, sir?
Joe is saying, I'm not going to become an independent, but I'm not ruling out joining the Republican Party. So, therefore, thumbs up to the progressives. Just to give you an update, already we are at 49 plus 2 independents. So, just the Republicans, the Democrats lost 1 seat and majority. So, we are even Stevens. Okay, even for Kamala Harris to come and cast her vote, we need those 2 independents voting in with Democrats, or at least one of them voting with the Democrats, so that the tying vote can come from Kamala Harris. Now, all we need is one more defection. The Senate will be back in the hands of the Republicans. So this is the damage that our good friends in the progressives are doing.
I think you're off by 2 fingers, but that's all right. Our viewers will understand what I mean. So let's move on to let's move on to what's happening in the state of Washington. Remember Seattle. Seattle is the capital of liberal attitude. Nothing wrong in that. I mean, that's the way it has been for many years. Seattle, Portland, and San Francisco, the top 3 port cities, they've all been like this. Now, there is an interesting thing coming along that the state of Washington is going to give medical insurance to illegal immigrants, and the Biden administration is okay with it. And they're going to give Obamacare coverage. Sridharji, do you know how much money it costs? If you make less than 95K, which 99.99999% of all these illegal immigrants will, every one of them will get free medical, sir.
Indeed, I think we have opened the caboodle, as we say in the United States. So we are just see. This is another topic that we need to kind of debate in the market section rather than here. The focus of our friend Jerome Powell is employment. There is now going back to 1996 Clinton years. Most of the welfare schemes were dismantled. In less than 2 years, Biden administration has reassembled all of those programs, ranging from unemployment insurance to a range of benefits. So today, United States is suffering. Many of these people receive average $45,000 to $50,000 social welfare payments. Okay, this is not inclusive of all these illegals being given access to Obamacare, okay, which will be probably funded by the state of Washington. So, and I mean, by the way, New York also offers that, and some of the other progressive or blue states offer similar kind of a scheme. What you are seeing here is they are justifying the opening of the borders so that the welfare state can prevail and you can continue to bleed the country. So this is the broad agenda that is at play. How much damage this is going to result in the next 2 years, only time will tell. Whether the Republicans will be able to stall it, we don't know. But the damage is being done as a result of all these programs under the pretext of COVID that has kicked in, and people do not want to come back to work.
Very unfortunate, sir. And I just wanted to update our viewers on the states that have banned TikTok. These are Texas, Maryland, South Carolina, South Dakota, Nebraska, and Utah and Alabama. These are all the states that have banned TikTok in their states. So it's not easy for Apple and Google. They'll have to monitor this state by state. And if the state rules that TikTok cannot be run here, that means for that state, whatever the IP addresses are, whatever it is, those will not be able to access TikTok. This is becoming a bit of a hair-splitting thing, sir. I don't know when they are going to, realize and say, heck with it, I'm just going to ban the thing across the country.
Very much depends on what happens to Hunter Biden stories. Huh? Hunter Biden is very strong connection with everybody knows with the Chinese. The Hunter Biden investigations will unravel, and when the Republicans take over the helm, and we may see more things coming out. And what will help the United States is the troubles brewing within China, not on just on one front, but across many fronts, ranging from COVID to discontent to wide range of other issues that China is confronted with.
And General Petraeus is a man very well respected, and he has said that Ukraine and military preparedness are far more important than being ready for a vaccine. So he's a military man, Sridharji. So let us say that there is a certain amount of bias towards military action because the person happens to be a military man. Isn't there a grain of truth in what he's saying?
It is. Most important word that is missing is Indo-Pacific and Taiwan. The priority should have been Taiwan, Indo-Pacific, and South China Sea, followed by Ukraine. What is the strategic importance of Indo-Pacific and South China Sea relative to Ukraine? So, in my view, we are missing the wood from the forest, and this is at the General Petraeus level. Very unfortunate that such a statement has come out without the emphasis. So this goes back to the theory as to why Japan, Vietnam, Taiwan, India, even possibly Korea, cooperation with Australia can mitigate and help manage the order in Indo-Pacific and South China Sea relative to what anything can do from United States perspective, given the time arrives when, if China decides to get into Taiwan Strait. Whether United States will step in remains a question, because you can see General Petraeus is no ordinary man. He was head of CENTCOM. You have a significant man giving priority to the most least important area, which is Ukraine, relative to a very strategic area.
Absolutely. And there is a question here, and I'm trying to see if it applies to us. Rajesh Singh wants to know, isn't the Revdi culture ravaging the US and UK from within, given all these schemes, example, hotels being made to keep room status to the administration to house immigrants? Quo vadis, where are we going? Well, we have been asking this question for a long time, my dear man. And Sridharji, if you want to weigh in.
Well, I think very clear. The progressive agenda is open the borders, saturate the country with illegals, give them the access, give them fast track to citizenship, even if they are not fast tracked, give them access to facilities and healthcare, so that the progressive socialist communist agenda can be perpetuated across United States. That is the progressive agenda. If that is not clear based on their policies, I just don't know what else they need to say. You can see from their utterances that is their agenda. Open the borders.
Well, I've done a monologue on this, viewers. If you want to know how much money George Soros has pumped into the Democratic Party machinery, continues to pump into that machinery. I counted at least 250 million. And this is Democracy Pack 1 and 2, and I'm getting news that more such units are in place. I don't know what this crazy guy is up to. It's very unfortunate that so much money is being thrown about at the expense of the country. Thank you very much, Sridharji. And yeah, go ahead, sir.
On that note, just want to say that there is an intelligence report that is coming out that the meetings between George Soros, Biden administration officials, Nancy Pelosi, and Hillary Clinton has not been made public. So this will come out. So there has been meeting between George Soros and people within the Biden administration, and no less a person than Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton, What was their agenda? What was the scope? Well, we covered this in 2021, 2020 with the elections. The Chuck Schumer and some of the Democrats meeting George Soros' son in the very famous Long Island resort.
Indeed, we've touched upon that. Viewers, I can't tell you enough. I mean, DGI has been so far ahead looking at some of the things and saying that, look, this is a problem, this is a concern, this is something that the Biden administration needs to look at. And people are looking at it, but they're knowing nothing about it. I mean, just look at this person, Bernie Sanders. And what exactly has he achieved by doing all these things? He is essentially taking revenge on the Democratic Party. But who is he hurting? The people of America. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand why people are unable to connect the dots like you and I are able to do it, Sridharji.
No, what is obvious to some is not obvious to many. So I think that's the only management explanation one can provide. The truth is obvious, but it doesn't seem to be to many.
Absolutely, sir. I mean, people are continuing to go back and vote for Democrats in big numbers, not understanding that they are being slow cooked, just like Hindus are being slow cooked in India. I'm sorry, I go on this topic and I will not stop, but I think time has come now to stop this program. And we are done with today's events. Please do tune in Thursday. We'll be back again, same time, same place. Sridharji, thank you very much, sir. And viewers, thanks so much for liking it. Today's program has one of the highest viewerships, and we thank you for it. And do tune in at 8 o'clock. There is a big reveal. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. I just want to leave one more point. One other country which has placed huge order for new planes, and we will tell which country that is in the next DGI.
Absolutely, sir. We always give a hook for people to, come back and listen to it. But thank you so much, sir. We'll be back again on Thursday. Namaskar.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.